Hello, family. Welcome to the Elias Sebola Show. My name is Elias and I am your host. Before we get into why the show or why you must watch the show, let's first get to know Elias. I grew up in Limpopo, where I completed my matric at a school called Rapatla High in Bochum. And after that, I came to Gauteng hoping to register with UNISA and study or journalism. Unfortunately, that didn't work out, and I had to now start looking for a job. Fortunately, a month later, there was a company looking for welders, and I had a little bit of welding background because my dad was a welder. And I was invited in, did my interview, did my test, and I made it. The company took me to school. But hey, I'm not going to bore you with my work experiences, only those that really matters and link very well to this show. From there on, I did a number of jobs, which my wife sums it up in saying, "Ke kgale ke kgozoka," meaning that I struggled a lot. So what happened is that I think in 2012, I got a job as a school-based monitor for the National Schools Nutrition Program back at home. And there I managed the feeding scheme thing, making sure that kids eat good and so on. And while I was there, I actually spotted a gap and I realized that the kids or the learners needed more support and they wanted some motivation. I decided that I'm going to approach the principal of that school and ask him to motivate the grade 12 learners, 11 and 10. He hesitated in allowing me to do so. But one Friday afternoon, he came to me and said, "Mr. Sebola, I think this is the time. These learners really need someone to speak to." I went there, spoke to the learners, and I felt good about it. And from there, I decided I'm going to go from one school to the other, just motivating the learners. I approached the school or the high school that I went to rather, which is Rapata in this case, and the principal allowed me in one day to speak to 3 grades. That was about 3 hours of motivational speaking. It was difficult because honestly, I was still learning, and I must say that many times I had my mind telling me that you don't have what it takes to do this. You are not educated. You didn't go to university yourself. And how are you going to motivate these people? I mean, many people believe in somebody who has got a car, who has got a degree, who has got a job. I was doing a learnership and that really, it was not paying me much. I was working to the school and so on. But that didn't stop me. My heart was bigger. My heart wanted to motivate other people so bad. And I continued doing that until I went to a school where after I had done the session, the principal felt that my work deserved some payment. I went to school knowing well that I was just volunteering my time and just, enjoying to speak to the learners. But when I was done, the teacher came to me and said, "Elias, may you please give me your account number?" And I was like, "My account number? What for?" And she said, "Look, the principal felt that we should pay you." And I was like, so happy. It wasn't a lot of money. I think it was $500. But that still made me feel so good about myself. And I remember I had to come back to Gauteng for some reason. What was it? I think it was some entrepreneurial program run by JA South Africa where I joined as a learner and I really enjoyed myself. I was walking, I think about 6 or so kilometers to the center where the program was running. And many times I would arrive there sweating. It was in summer, obviously. And when you're sweating and stuff, you don't feel confident about yourself and you're like, "Oh, them girls are not gonna listen to me even if I try." But hey, so completed the program, got a learnership where I was being trained on becoming a facilitator and assessor, and that went very well and traveled many times. People thought I was making a lot of money, but hey, it wasn't there. Now, come to why I started the show, the Elias Sebola Show. In the work that I do every day, I meet people, different people, and we talk about things more than entrepreneurship, which is what I'm teaching. And I've learned to realize that there are things that we don't believe in as people, but it is hard to confront those things for a number of reasons. And I've found many reasons to be about other people. We don't want to lose a spot in our communities, be it family, church community, or any other group you may think of that we usually compromise just so we can fit in. And it is hurting because I realize that in as much as I call myself, or I say I'm not a conformist, but there are things that I learned from my childhood that I can't just do away with. That in as much as I've learned not to believe in, it is not easy to just leave them. And I learned, or I realized rather, how hurting it can be to live the life that was not meant for you just because you want to please other people. Myself, I realized that I'm a pleaser, and I'm one person who enjoys peace wherever I am. And for peace sake, I am likely to find myself apologizing for mistakes I didn't do or make rather. Or I'm not the only one. Many other people are going through this. Now, in this show, I aim to bring people who will be sharing their situations and how they confronted some of these difficult situations, how they decided to choose themselves. Because truth is that the moment you find yourself apologizing for something that you didn't do or trying to make peace, whereas it is hating, that simply means you are losing yourself in a process. And I don't think there is anybody who would want to live such life. I don't think so. I believe we all want to have peace. I believe we all want to have happiness. And we shouldn't let anything steal our happiness. Recently, I was listening to a speech by a guy called Godfrey. I forgot his surname. Now, Godfrey was showing how difficult his childhood was. He used to believe in his cousin so much that he idolized him and he followed him everywhere he'd go. His cousins would do things that hurt Godfrey, but because Godfrey likes his cousin so much, Godfrey would have to apologize so that his cousin can allow him to come with him wherever he goes the following day. And that made me realize that actually it's not like it happens when we are young. I mean, there are people who find themselves in relationships where they are apologizing or they are continuing to stay even when they don't want to, simply because they want to belong to a certain community. They want to belong to a certain group. There are many things that are really happening in our communities. Some are good, some are bad. But if there is something that I've learned recently is that my truth can never be your truth. Maybe sometimes it can be. But my truth can only be defined by how I believe in it. My right might not be your right. And I think we will have peace if we understand that we are different. We are not the same. And that's where we'll be talking about individuality. I promise to be bringing people that will share their experiences and really share how they tried or how they worked on the situations. I'm going to touch on relationships. There are many things that are happening at churches these days that really are so worrying. Some are sickening. But hey, we'll definitely try as much as we can to unpack all those. I hope this gives you an understanding of why you must watch the Elias Sebola Show. But hey, we will also be talking about marriage versus weddings. Many people seem to be missing a point here. Marriage is a long-term thing. A wedding is just a few days, or one day, rather, maybe whatever, depending. Celebration. Now, we will also be talking about that. Now, we will also be looking at mental health. I think there's a whole lot of things happening, and our brains are taking a whole lot of information, or our minds are taking a lot of information now at the same time. You'd remember that during our time when I was in high school, I think I only had a phone when I was in grade 12, and I didn't have internet all the time, and there were no many social media platforms. There was no pressure. There are other things. I remember, talking about pressure, I remember I used to work as a general worker in a construction company where I used pick and forshel. Yes, that I used that at some point, and I really didn't care. I'm trying to imagine how things would have been if at that time there were so many social media platforms, and the pressure of wanting to take a nice picture and say I'm at work, because that's what you'd see other people doing. It could have been very hard for one to take. And I'm sure it's hard for people who are in that space at the moment, because sometimes when we are in high school or when we go to school, we share our dreams, we share our plans, we share about what we want to do, and it becomes hard when not all of us are able to achieve that. In as much as people will always say that follow your path, do not try to compare yourself with other people. The honest truth that I've learned is that you can only learn to understand that when you grow and are successful. Only few people who are unsuccessful understand that saying. Sometimes you feel like God doesn't love you. Why must you suffer when your peers are making it out there? Sometimes in speaking to many people, like I always do, I've learned that you can't talk to all people the same way. People are going through different situations with different family backgrounds, different upbringing. Now, it's not going to be easy just to say one thing and they all understand it the same way. So it's things that really we are going to unpack those. We are going to unpack those, and believe you me, it's going to be a great experience watching the show. Thank you very much for watching this episode. I hope to see you at the next episode. And the only way you're not going to miss it is if you subscribe and turn on your notification. Bye for now.